Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking with Andrew Wayne here. He is with the fabulous band Chopstick, who will be performing at Wonder Valley Experimental 13.
Thank you, Mark. It's always a pleasure to have your company, and always a pleasure to play Wonder Valley when I get a chance to get down there. So thanks for having me on tonight.
Well, this is a long way from 29 Palms, but you know, we have to do what we have to do.
Yep.
So I had a couple questions, and we're going to start with how did you discover noise?
So I think the root of how a lot, at least the people that I talked to and stuff, the root of how a lot of people got into noise kind of stems from punk rock. And so in high school I had a punk band that me and a couple friends got into, and we're into like Green Day and Rancid and all the very pop punk stuff that came out at that time. And as as I kept learning more about the guitar, I kept expanding other things. So I would hear about other projects that were coming out and I was like, oh, I want to get in on that. I want to get in on that. And so like soon enough, like it kind of uh quickly delved from the pop punk stuff, and I started getting into um the more artsy stuff. And so I remember ordering a Stockhausen CD early on of the old tape compositions that he did, and getting into John Cage and uh, Ligeti and like all these early avant-garde compositions, and just kind of like how they expanded on what music was and what music could be. And so all this was kind of like in my own research and exploration. And we have a radio station here out of UC Davis called KDVS, and in they would run. I mean, it's a great radio station, and we do we do everything we can to make sure it stays on the air. And they had throughout all the years. So at the time, when I was in high school and just after high school, I worked late night shifts. I had a job at the movie theater, or I worked evenings at a couple office jobs and whatnot. And so when I get out of work, I would tune into the radio, and at nighttime they'd be running the death metal and the grindcore and the other stuff. And then they would also get into like an ambient or a harsh noise hour or a other experimental hour. And that's when I kind of like started discovering these type of things. And so at one point I was like, okay, I'm gonna get more into this. So I actually wrote one of the DJs there, and she sent me a list of a bunch of noise and experimental stuff that came out. And that's what got me into the what was that record label that did that series? Um, there's a record label that did a series of the CD art is like it's got like kind of patterns or like stone on one side and white on the other side, and it's got the artist name. Um,
Okay.
yeah, Randy Yao was on it. Uh, Joe Colley. Who else was on that one? Basically, like they sent me a couple of their websites, and so I ordered a bunch of stuff on there, and they had a bunch of different sections, harsh noise, ambient noise, and so forth. So I started getting stuff like that. And then one of the CDs I got that I really kind of hang on to is like Ultima Shihide and Christian Marclay. They were doing turntablism stuff, and I got way into Ultima Shihide. Started going to record shops around and seeing whatever I could find, picking up stuff. So I'd be spending $100, $200 a month on CDs, and I'd drive out to the Bay Area because I couldn't find stuff in the Sacramento local area that much. I had outgrown what the local record shops were doing for experimental, so I'd have to drive out to the Bay Area and to Berkeley to find what they were selling as in their experimental, and I'd pick up everything. And at some point,
Uh,
yeah,
what year was this? I mean, when you were driving out to Berkeley?
this would be so I was in my early 20s, so I would say 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004. These were the years I was like driving out there
Mm-hmm.
and picking up. So like and I would continue this well into like 2005, 6, 7 or so. And at some point, it got to a point where internet mail order and finding stuff online and digital stuff online was a lot easier. But even to this day, I still like having physical copies. But like finding CDs though is kind of a rare thing because I went to Amoeba um, uh, like a couple years ago, and their CD experimental section, which used to be a whole row, was resorted down to a couple boxes that are underneath because they're making all the room for vinyl because now everyone's wanting to get vinyl, and I like vinyl too. So I'll go through the vinyl stuff, but then like all the CDs are below, and the CDs that were going for um, 17, 20, $25 are now going for like $2, $3. And so I was like, wow, I wish I had come, just a few months prior or a year or two prior when I was able to get all the stuff that I was like, I'm not going to pay for that. I mean, that's like $50 and I don't know if it's going to be good or not. So at that point I had, um, yeah, so it was kind of like the big drive was finding music, finding new things and hearing about things. And then as I started to produce music and noise myself, because I found out about the local in Sacramento, the NorCal Noise Fest that we have here. I found out about that because my girlfriend at the time actually saw a commercial they had on TV. This is the one year that they actually paid for a commercial.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and it was because I was getting all these Japanese harsh noise stuff like
Right.
Merzbow and out there. My girlfriend at the time was like, "Hey, there's a local noise fest I saw on TV," and so the first year or so, I would look at the website and I couldn't tell it was like sometime in October. Okay. And then October would come and I would look at the website. I was like, here's photos from our event. Okay, great. So like so I didn't know when it happened. And I wasn't integrated enough in the local scene yet to know when it had happened. So mm. and then once I so with the uh with all those things kind of combined, I started to record at home. So I started making tapes, and I started figuring out how to set my home recording setup so I could start doing those things. And once I started going to the events, and I had my noise moniker and project. Now you're going to these events and you're talking shop with people. Now it's a whole different level, and that's kind of what I really like about the noise scene in general is you no matter what city you go to, there's going to be a noise scene there. You just have to find the people that are into it. And when I had traveled to the International Noise Conference in Florida last year, um, uh, while I'm at the airport, I have my Merzbow hoodie on, and there's a couple other guys there that look distinctive like noise guys, and so and we're taking the same planes too across. I'm like, do I ask them or not? And so we both land in Florida, and they're on their phones trying to figure out their ride. And I go, are you guys playing the International Noise Conference? They're like, yeah, we're on this night. Okay, cool. You know Robbie? Yeah, we know Robbie. And so we're just talking shop. And so like finding these people, um, it's kind of a I like the magic of it because everybody it's so approachable meeting the other artists and stuff. So I think it really fit with me. There wasn't a sense of with a lot of musicians there's a sense of kind of competition that happens, like, oh, you're playing this venue and you're doing this style of music. Well, that's my gig. I do this kind of music over here. Or but with noise and noise artists, everyone tends to, they're like, oh, what did you bring? Oh, what do you got? Hey, what do you got? What's that there? And so and hey, you want to collaborate? Like you'll start collaborating with people that you had just met 15 minutes prior because they like something that you do, which is, and I like that aspect, that approach to it a lot, really.
It's very cool. And
Mhm.
the idea of doing split singles or cassettes and that sort of thing is it's really pretty charming and
Yeah.
unique to experimental forms. It seems like I don't recollect too many rock bands having that kind of convivial
Yeah.
thing.
You'll have jazz and a lot of things that flow in between. And the aspect of just like, hey, let's get together, have a few beers and noodle out a couple things and see where it goes. Like I love that aspect of it. And yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I've seen you perform with all kinds of different gear, from modular synths to electric guitars. So, what is the thing that you bring to whatever you are doing to make great sets? Because you're consistent and you make great sets.
Thank you. Um, I had I remember when I wrote this down, I wrote inventiveness with a question mark. Inventiveness. When I started doing Chopstick, the concepts with it was all I made a thing and here it is because I was way into circuit bending at the time and finding cheap toys and finding cheap equipment and modifying it and making it work. And at some point that led to making small like Atari Punk console circuits or very simple mixers or splitters and stuff. So you know you could have a cable go in, split off to a couple signals, and that way you could have it run to a couple different sets of effects pedals and stuff. And I think the main thing that I approach Chopstick with is that every performance needs to be different and new. I last couple of years I've gotten into Eurex synthesizers, and so everyone I do a completely different patch with it, and so I write out the compositional aspect of it is doing the patch, and then where certain synth voices come in, where certain filter effects or other effects come in, and how those change, it the flow of it can change a couple different times. So I might do a couple different takes before I perform it live or submit something to a festival or a compilation. But yeah, that's like if I try to do something new and different each time, that's the challenge I kind of do for myself. But the overall flow of things, I know can kind of seem the same. Like it starts quiet, it builds up loud, does something neat, and goes out. And just that flow of it is kind of happens all the same. But where things come in, it's for me, it's sort of like making a soup or a curry where I'm adding different ingredients at different times, and the taste is a little bit different. And in some cases, the meal overall is going to be the same. You're going to have your carbs, your sauce, your veggies, and your protein, and that's kind of maybe I'm too hard on myself sometimes. But yeah, that's what I want to do. So lately, I've been having a lot of fun using the theremin to control my Eurex stuff, and I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Eurorack people at all on this because there's a lot, and I'm not going to. I think something I realized recently is when you see a person with a Eurex setup, you see the box, the cables, and a bunch of bleepy bloopies and whatnot, and it tends to all resonate the same. Like if you see five of them or 10 of them, you might have a difficult time differentiating between the bunch. So for the approach of my own music, I want to do the theremin first and the performance with movements. And yeah, all the sounds are coming from the Eurex synthesizer, but that's not what people are seeing. So they might just see me as the theremin guy, and I'm fine with that. And that I like playing the theremin a lot. I've been doing that for years. And
Well, I should point out I saw you do a set with the theremin hooked into the Eurorack stuff, and it has a really different tone quality
Hmm.
because your basic theremin is a pretty simple oscillator and it's in a certain register, but you were doing things that were it sounded like this wild angry cello down in a much different, more throaty register, and you got to some places that the theremin really doesn't go.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
they don't. They and if it was in that register, it wouldn't sound like what you were doing. So, by doing the voltage control stuff and getting the pitch being controlled by the theremin and running through that, I think is a great touch. It
Thank you.
really sounds wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I have it. The theremin goes in, and I have it. I tune my oscillators lower, and to get those deeper tones, and I'll have them offset from each other for a bit, so you get more of that, um, the kind of following type sound where it's one is only slightly out of tune, and then I like to play with that a lot. Like earlier stuff when I was playing with oscillators, I would just sit there and have like one oscillator just, you know, just slightly off or just slightly out of tune. And you listen to that harmonic and how they bounce and fluctuate with each other and how to have those things just kind of like bounce around. And when like I was playing with this on guitar, like in high school, and I'm like, high school and after high school, like I'm playing guitar and I'm just detuning things and listening, and I go, is this going to be good for anyone else? Like I'm having a lot of fun listening to this part here, and that's kind of like when my guitar playing kind of went from punk rock to just like very, let's let's just plunk these two notes and listen
Mm-hmm.
and hear how it sounds in the room and hear how it sounds, how it flows out, and just getting really obsessed with that. It's kind of, um yeah, I just want to keep exploring that, like how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See where the journey goes.
Yeah.
That's the fun part when you get the surprises.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's a funny question. What part of the COVID experience will stay with us after the pandemic? Will noise shows change? Will the online component continue on as noise film festivals?
I I like how you worded it, noise film festivals. And the the Kovac experience and the like the whole quarantine thing, really like what we've seen artists bring out. Like everyone's been kind of turning on their music video mode, or they have or they the either they're picking up their own video editing skills, or they have a good friend that does really good video editing skills, and they're collaborating a lot. And I see a lot of really good collaborations. What I like about it is you can kind of bring out a good finished product. You can kind of you can kind of do a couple takes and work on it, and then go, okay, this is a good solid piece of work, and submit it. And then also, so you can submit it to a festival, and then you could also kind of like put it on a YouTube, and other people, you have that replayability from it, which is what you don't really get from a live experience. But the um also, like what I've seen people do with home recordings, sometimes you can't do on stage. We saw like Dendera Bloodbath submitted a video
Mm-hmm.
for, this was for the Noise Fest, I believe, and they had um, or spitting marbles into glass uh, a glass jar, and to do that on stage in a live element, you can't quite do that. But in a video set, you can, and you can kind of bring people to different intimate spaces that you can't do live. Um, on the other hand, there's a lot of acts and performance artists that I've met and worked with that don't want to do home recording stuff, and they don't want to do the video stuff or Zoom call or anything like that, because yeah, it doesn't, you don't have that same live element as when you're in the room and the speakers are huge and everything is pulsating, and you're in that room and everyone's in that same space, and uh all it hearing and absorbing that energy that happens. um like that part I do miss. For the for the shows that we put on, I want to continue to have like live feeds on onto YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, so that people, because through all this we've gotten fans in other countries now, fans in South America and Europe and Japan
Mm-hmm.
that actually stay up and watch it, or whatever their time zone is. And I don't want to lose that connection. And so post COVID, when it's safe for us to meet and travel regularly, I would honestly like to see live stuff in combination with the film festival stuff, because it's two completely different elements. You got, yeah, you just have two different elements to play with, but we've awoken a lot more creatively. Um, People are editing videos now that haven't before, and I myself have been trying to find out new camera techniques, or just different effects I could do on my phone, or
Mm-hmm.
with our camera, and just like bringing that kind of inventiveness. I like that. Let's see what will stay with us after. What will noise shows change? I think I think the in-person shows are honestly going to get louder. Those are going to get really loud, because we've had a lot of people that are just they're pissed off, they're cooped up and they're pissed off. And
Yeah,
so
well,
yeah, we're going to have some like really harsh stuff come out soon, and people are going to be cranking it as loud as possible, because we've all been inside, and we've all been um uh uh just so cooped up. So
yeah.
I think I think we're going to have like so many different directions coming, and I'm kind of excited to see what the next thing will be.
So, just for your information, the phrase "Noise Film Festival" came from the chat
Yeah.
on, I think it was the Waffle,
Oh yeah.
two waffles ago. Yeah, that was pretty great. I think it was right after the guy had the GoPro on a rope that he swung over his head. That
Hmm.
was that was pretty much a real test to see if you didn't get dizzy.
Yeah, that was a fun one, and we're all in the chat trying to figure out what is he doing? What is this connected to? Is it
Yeah,
in a ball? What's he doing?
it was crazy.
Yeah.
Is there a piece of gear that you will use for Wonder Valley Experimental that you are particularly finding particularly inspiring, or would you share
Yes.
that with us?
I wanted to let me grab it real quick. Moved all this stuff out of the way, and then I end up kicking everything. Okay. So, Instrument of Things, they make Eurorack and modular synthesizer gear. They came out with this thing called what's it called? Like, it's like the name of it is the frequency that Bluetooth and Wi-Fi functions off of. It's like 10.4, something like that. I forget. So what these guys are, they came with these little discs.
Wow.
So these little discs have gyroscopes in them, and they're Bluetooth connected to a Eurorack module. And so when they're turned on, the X, Y, and Z axis on these things can convert to control voltage signals.
So is it an accelerometer?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And it's using the MoveSense technology. So there's just little batteries, and you can turn them on, and you can. I have little adapters here that you can basically strap them on your wrist or on like some of the stuff that they've had displayed on their Instagram is they have like dancers perform with them on, and so as the dancers are moving around, they got uh, 2 or 3 of these things on them, and as they're moving around, they're controlling the signals. So with these guys on, what I've been having fun with now is I'm playing the theremin, but I have these strapped to my hand, and I can control the filter, I can control the LFO, and I can control other effects too. Like I can control how much delay is happening, and then I can control the speed of the delay.
Wow.
So I can, I can control the volume out, and then lower the filter on it, and basically speed up or slow down the delay, and so make some really kind of wherever you have the effect go in. There's a couple other like quick samples and stuff. So like you can have it function as a gate. So at one angle it will be gate on, and it'll start recording. At another angle it'll be play, and then moving your hand back and forth, you can record and play, record and play, record and play. And then the other one can be controlling your speeds on that. And each one has 8 CV outputs.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can program them. So when the module's on, there's a program mode you can put it in, and it's basically emitting like a Wi-Fi signal, and you can connect to it with your phone, and the Wi-Fi signal is basically displaying a web page that you can determine what output is doing what. So you can have up to 7 of these hooked up to one module, and so 7 of these on a whole body on a dancer or on a I mean the inventiveness, you can tell I'm super excited about this whole thing because of imagine any type of gears that are spinning around, and you have one of these on, or any type of gyroscope or something, or a ball, or you could put a couple of these in a tennis ball and chuck that around the room, and that could be your performance.
Wow.
Like this thing has been when I got it and when I installed it and I started playing around with it, I was like, controlling the filters and the oscillators just by like, oh, holy shit, this is fun. And like I was like, this is a game changer. Like, you don't need a keyboard or a sequencer hooked up to these things. Now you can have body motion, and they're sensitive too. Like just the littlest turn and on these things will move. So it's learning how to use them and learning what we can do with them. And you could set LFO speeds on each one. And so and having the setup also, you can read other motion. I think there's even more capabilities for those that are like in tune enough to use the accelerometer on a phone to send a signal to the thing. Mm-hmm. And having that kind of interactivity, and the fact you can have up to 7 devices on these things is a lot. And I'm just using the 2 right now, but it's a lot of fun, and I need to do more videos and recordings with it, because I've only done a couple with it so far. And so that's what I'm going to be bringing to Wonder Valley in my video. So
that's great.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. Okay, well, this kind of wraps it up. This is Mark Soden. I've been talking with AndrewWayne of Chopstick. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Mark.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
We'll check in with you later.
Okay.